let's talk about a future that might be a lot closer than you think. A world where AI and automation are, the main workforce. What does that world even look like? And, maybe more importantly, how do we all get paid?
And that's really the big question, isn't it? For the longest time, this felt like pure science fiction. But now, the tech, the math, the economics, it's all pointing in one direction. There's no law of nature that says humans have to be the only ones who can work. So what happens to our entire economy when its very foundation, the job, starts to just evaporate?
To figure out where we're headed, we've got to first understand the engine that's powering our world right now. So let's pop the hood and see exactly where the cracks are starting to show.
It's a pretty simple and elegant loop when you think about it. We spend money, that spending lets businesses grow. And that growth leads them to hire more of us, which puts wages in our pockets, which, you guessed it, lets us spend more money and keep the whole engine turning. This cycle has been the bedrock of our economy for generations.
But here's the thing. What happens when that fourth step starts to break? What if businesses can grow and expand and become unbelievably productive without hiring more people? Well, that is exactly what's starting to happen.
Economists actually have a name for this. They call it the Great Decoupling. And it's not some new thing either. It's been happening for decades. Technology, from factory robots back in the 50s to the computers we're using right now, lets companies create more and more value with fewer and fewer people. So productivity just keeps climbing, but wages for the average person, they've pretty much flatlined.
And look, this isn't just a theory. The numbers are pretty clear. Not that long ago, 56% of all the money generated in the world, the global GDP, went to households as wages. Today, that's down to 52%. Now, a 4% drop might not sound like a huge deal, but let's put that into perspective.
Trillions. That 4% shift is trillions of dollars every single year. Money that used to flow into our pockets, but is now going back to the owners of the capital, the machines, the software, all that stuff. That money is just recycling at the very top instead of flowing through the whole economy.
And this breakdown, it has some really serious knock-on effects. I mean, when all the money pools at the top, regular households have less to spend, which means consumer demand drops. And for governments, if the workforce isn't earning more, their entire tax base starts to crumble. The whole system is just becoming unstable.
So, if the old wiring is frayed and sparking, you don't just patch it with duct tape, right? No way. You need a fundamental rewiring of the entire system. It's time to seriously think about a new economic paradigm. And this right here is the absolute core of the idea. We need to shift from an economy where your value comes from your job, from your labor, to one where your value comes from your shared ownership of the automated systems that are creating all the wealth. It's a huge, profound shift in how we even think about income.
And this isn't just some big, vague concept. We can actually break this great rewiring down into a concrete, three-step blueprint for building a whole new post-labor economy.
Okay, so here are the three big pillars. First, you change how money actually gets to people. Second, you build the modern infrastructure to move that money around super efficiently. And third, you change where the government gets its funding to keep society running. Let's break each one down.
All right, step one. We have to replace the paycheck. I mean, if businesses aren't paying wages anymore, where does our income come from? The answer is dividends, paid out from our collective ownership of this new automated economy.
And you know what? We already have working models for this. Just look at the Alaska Permanent Fund. It takes oil revenue and pays an annual dividend to every single resident. Norway does something similar. The idea here is to apply that same logic to the new great natural resource of our time, the automated economy. A slice of the value created by AI and robots flows into a public fund, and that fund pays out dividends directly to everybody.
Okay, so you've got this new source of income, but how do you get it to hundreds of millions of people instantly and without any friction? Well, for that, you need a serious upgrade to our financial infrastructure. Our current systems are kind of clunky, right? They're slow, they're expensive, and they're controlled by private companies who take a little cut of every transaction. But countries like India, with its UPI system, and Brazil with Pix, they've already built the future. These are open, public digital rails for instant, basically free money movement. This is the plumbing we need to deliver those dividends directly into everyone's digital wallet, with zero middlemen.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. If people aren't earning traditional incomes, you can't really fund the government with income and payroll taxes anymore. The tax base itself has to move.
So instead of taxing human labor, you tax the new sources of value. What does that mean?
Well, it means a tax on the productivity of the automation itself, a tax on land value, which is genius, because it captures value from location, not what's built on it, and a tax on consumption. This makes sure the government has what it needs and aligns the whole system with our new economic reality.
So when you put these 3 steps together, what you get is more than just an economic tweak. It's a fundamental change in our relationship to the economy. It's a massive shift from simply earning a living to actually owning our future.
And let's be super clear, this isn't some far-off, distant future. The decoupling started decades ago. But now, economists are pointing to the year 2032 as a major tipping point, the moment when AI's impact on GDP growth will be undeniable and will just accelerate like crazy. We are on a one-way trip, and believe me, the destination is getting closer.
And that, right there, is the heart of it. For centuries, our value has been tied to our labor. We had to earn our keep. In the economy that's coming, our value is going to be tied to our citizenship, to our right as stakeholders to get a share of the automated prosperity that we all collectively create.
Which of course leaves us with the biggest question of all. When the basic need to work just to survive is taken off the table, what are we going to do? It's a pretty daunting thought for sure, but it's also this incredible opportunity, an opportunity to completely redefine what it means to live a valuable and purposeful life.